Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so we have a fairly good group here. Okay. So I think we have some new folks here, at least new for me. Let me introduce the video. Hey, Christopher.
Hello.
Thanks for joining the group. And yeah, why don't you just give us a brief introduction of where you're coming from?
Yes,
What?
no worries. Thanks for inviting us, by the way. That was also very cool. But my name is Christopher. I come from Copenhagen in Europe, work in a bank called Banking Circle, and we are trying to do payment rails and payment technology in general. Right now, we are processing 1%, like 10% of the Europe's payment flows all over Europe. And as part of that, we're trying to do everything cloud native and these things. And then we came up with, when you do these things, you build a platform. You use quite a significant amount of Helm charts, and therefore we built a little tool called Helmper that will help people do that in a little bit more professional way. I hope that suffices for a short introduction.
That's good. That's good. Thank you. Yeah. So you're standardizing all your package, your packaging and package delivery on Helm. That's what I'm assuming. So
Yeah, exactly. We use that as the base, and then we came up with a solution where we thought that it was just built with a lot of these components that all were written in Go anyway. So why not try and build everything into one cohesive package that could kind of leverage the best from each project, while kind of standing on the shoulder of giants and not having to re-implement anything that all the great tools that the CNCF already does.
okay, perfect. And that is the project that you are sharing. That was the link to the project that Karen shared.
Yes, under the funny name Helmper. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so do you have a demo or something that you want to show us, or anything that you want to share with the meeting in terms of technical details?
Yes, I could do now I'm just joined from my phone, so I'll try and just connect with my laptop so I can show you at least the docs page where I have things. So just give me 2 minutes, then I'll try and make it work. Or maybe if one of you have the screen actually can share. I think we have one up here.
Yeah, let me stop sharing. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
1 second now. I'll have to find a way to join with my laptop real quick. So if you give me 2 minutes. Maybe you could help me out 1 sec. Now I didn't get to prepare my computer for sharing with Zoom, unfortunately. But I have all my diagrams in the official documentation. If I can get you to go to
Okay, yes, let me do it.
Maybe
Let me do it. Let me do it.
Do you have a link to the repo?
The Helm per repo?
Yes, in there in the description, I have a link to the docs as well.
Okay, let me.
The hardest part is actually having you show up, and you did that, so
Yes.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I already went on weekend here in Europe. It's 9 o'clock in the evening, so yeah. Otherwise, I would really have prepared this on my page here. But if you go to the how page up in the top, the fourth
the
tab.
top. Okay,
Yeah.
the top. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, here I have at least two. If you scroll down just a little bit, I have a diagram here, just very briefly showing the overview, right? That we use Helm, and then I think if you go down one more, there is a little bit more interesting diagram. And I also have some GIFs that actually show the demos in here. Yeah, this doesn't show it technical enough. This was just for our internal developers. If I can make you go to the docs, I think it was. Just sorry for this, but they we have
No,
under
that's
the
okay.
docs
That's okay.
thing.
That's okay. Yeah.
If you scroll to the bottom of intro here we kind of show the core functionality of Helmper at the very, very bottom. I hope we can show that.
The intro extended?
Yeah, if you right click and show the image in new tab, you get it in full screen. In full
This one.
resolution.
Okay, yeah, got it. Okay, here we go.
Good. So for here, we are just kind of seeing the first execution of Helmper. And what Helmper is doing here is that it identifies, we're just running against the Prometheus chart, and then it identifies that there are 4 dependency charts in here. we are pulling the charts down on our local machine, we are analyzing them, and we are checking here, just identifying all the images that are specified in the values file. And we also print out all the locations in the Helm values for where you could modify and change this reference. And then at the bottom, we are showing just a quick overview of the status inside the registry, if these images are already present. If not, we would schedule an import. And what you see at the bottom is just this pushing charts and pushing images. And if I can then get you to go to the extended one, you can see the execution for when we do the patching with copacetic as well. Even though I guess from this perspective, it's just going to show more of those loading bars at the bottom.
I have
But
questions.
here we kind of have, yes, thank you.
Are you leveraging Helm libraries for doing the push, or are you leveraging another library?
We use the Helm SDK, yes.
Okay, cool. Because I'm about ready to blow it up tonight a little bit. So yeah,
Great.
I am a Helm maintainer, so
Yeah.
I'm very interested in this project because we are in the Helm community starting to work together around Helm 4. And
All right.
this little tool here is very interesting, especially when it comes to being able to take a look at different ways of formatting, as well as being able to see values in certain things. So I may come calling more.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was actually trying at KubeCon. I saw some familiar faces from the Slack channel as well for the Helm maintainers track.
Yep.
And I was about to ask people if we could add this as kind of a plugin to Helm or something like that. But then we also started to have a lot of these other projects involved, and then it wasn't really clear where to put it. But that sounds really good.
So I'm actually going to be putting together a blog for the Helm community that's going to talk more about getting everyone together to start collaborating on ideas for Helm 4. And we'd definitely love to have you participate if you're interested.
Definitely interested. That sounds awesome.
Great.
Oh,
good.
Okay.
And I think that is what I have in the docs that are kind of showing the flow of Helm per. Here at the bottom, you'll also see that we are normally patching. So copacetic only deals with patching OS level vulnerabilities, but of course we also want to be able to treat images that actually didn't have vulnerabilities. So that's why you see those errors or warnings, and everything still continues.
Okay. So what does patching mean actually here?
Yeah. So patching is so copacetic is a tool also under the CNCF umbrella that also is a wrapper around BuildKit. But what that allows us to do is to modify the images, right? And what we have with Trivi is a tool that can just detect all of these vulnerabilities and can tell or can instruct the BuildKit how to actually patch it in the container image. So what we're doing is essentially just we're finding these vulnerabilities inside the image through Trivi, and then that knows exactly which vulnerabilities that are fixed, what version to do, and it kind of can instruct BuildKit on how to patch that. So it's essentially what you would do on a VM level. We don't do anything on the application level at all, but we pull from the standard CVS databases for vulnerabilities and what they consider a fixed version.
I see. Okay, got it. So this is automating a lot of the DevSecOps type work.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing ourselves in our company, right? And then we just thought, if we're having this problem, maybe a lot of other people might have the same.
Yeah.
So
why
not try and share it?
Okay. This is very good.
I'm
Okay.
not sure. I think I have maybe also some more diagrams. I'm not quite sure how many I have. So if you go back to the docs, and then I have diagrams tab here at the left. What do I have? What did I create? I was playing around with Mermaid here. Yeah, so I have an ER diagram that I kind of just showed, but all of you guys would be familiar with how these things kind of interrelate, like this. And this is kind of what we are patching and dealing with in Helmper. And then I have a diagram I think is interesting, the third one, the configuration options, that will kind of show the decision tree that is going when you start Helmper based on the, sorry, 1 second. They'll kind of show that the effect essentially of the different configuration options. So you'll see in the beginning, we just process the input file, and then we are fetching from the remote also through the Helm SDK. We are just taking a look at the unpacked tar file and starting to process everything. And if you have then decided that you want to import, you could also decide not to import if you only want to identify, images inside a chart and don't have to do that through artifact hop all manually. And then you can kind of see what will happen through the flow with your image based on the different ones. So you can, of course, disable patching if you don't want to do that and you just want to use Helm as a importer of the public available things. Or otherwise you could do these modifications. And right now we already shared this with the CNCF community in Copenhagen on Tuesday, where we got some very good feedback as well for different type of things you could do, where we especially had one interesting comment from a developer as well, that he would be very interested in seeing kind of the diff between two versions of a Helm chart, including what has changed inside each of the images. So to kind of be able to identify, what has changed. So you basically would get a small PR or something like that on your own end to approve what has changed between two versions.
Yeah. Okay. For the
That might
ops folks,
be-
it is.
Yeah, exactly. Very ops focused.
Both myself and Akihiro both done that in the past, if you're looking for examples. Basically diffs of OCI images.
I wasn't really aware that was something, but that's why it's good to share with the community and get everyone involved and sharing what they see.
Yeah, Reg Client did that with some of the diff tooling there, and Akihiro, I'm forgetting the name of the tool he wrote. I think it might just be something like diff OCI or something along those lines.
All right, I'll definitely take a look, see if I can find that.
We've both gone down
Yeah.
that path. Our focus has been reproducibility, and so we're looking for what changed so we can figure out why the images weren't reproducible.
Yeah.
All right.
Share links, Brandon, if you can find them.
I'll go digging for Akihiro's. Mine's pretty easy to find. I'll get that one to you as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
What else do we have in here? And then a different and maybe an interesting aspect for you guys as well would be the compatibility that we have for other registries. And this is, of course, just plainly borrowing Helm's compatibility as we use that SDK to all of those things. And then we also integrate with everything OCI related that is pushing images and the things that Helm does not do. There we use Auras, which also has quite excellent compatibility across most registries.
Auras is a fantastic project from a client point of view, and so
Yeah,
is
exactly.
Brandon is maintaining the rec client, so that's also
Oh.
pretty good. So these are your two options.
The problem with Helm right now is we're stuck on the V1, which is painful, very painful. It's very limiting. So especially with Helm 4, we're looking to go to obviously V2.
Okay, all right, Christopher. Thanks for sharing. This is good stuff.
Oh yeah, last comment before I leave you guys is also the authentication part of everything. I also had that in the README, but just to make it clear, we're also using the Helm registry configuration options for everything Helm related. And again, everything OCI related, we use the Docker config. So that should be pretty much also standards for doing these type of authentication things. But
Okay,
if
we have
anything, if any of you guys are having any feedback or anything on the tool in general that you just immediately think could be improved, I'm also very interested in hearing that.
Yeah, I'm guessing file issues against your GitHub project.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so the authentication piece, we have a working group on the OCI side as well, where we're at least now it's somewhat inactive, but we are aware and looking at some of these things as well in order to standardize for all the applications. Okay. Let me add this into the document. Okay. Hi, Deepan. Is this your first time joining this group as well? Okay, maybe it's fine. Okay, all right. So let's. So yeah, I just wanted to get you, Christopher, so to get you started on this, so that we didn't have to waste any more of your time. So I think now we can move on to other items on the agenda. Feel free to stay, or you can leave. It's entirely up to you. And thanks for. Um, thanks for sharing this. This is
Yes.
quite useful.
No worries. I'll be looking forward to hearing if you guys decide to to do anything further with this project. Really interested to see when we can get it ready for, or if we can get it ready at some point for maybe an official CNCF sandbox. That's kind of the goal for us. So any feedback along that way would also be very grateful.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good. All right. But have a nice meeting and hope to see you around.
All right. Thanks, Christopher. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Sorry, Deepan, we couldn't hear you if you have been speaking.
Yeah, he
Okay,
might just be
that's all
having
right.
some audio issues.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Okay, so yeah, jump in and introduce yourself whenever you get a chance, maybe maybe at the end of the meeting. So, so Andy, you had something for us on the Helm side that you wanted to share?
No, it was mainly, this is mainly for just the demo we just had, which is I'm going to be adding in a number of issues or resolutions to existing gaps in functionality around OCI. Two of them in particular. One, when you package and manage dependencies, you can't manage TLS certificates appropriately. We added a bunch of enhanced support, I think 2 versions ago. That was not added all the way across the board, so I'm going to be working on that. And then I'm also going to be looking into being able to support multiple namespaces within a single registry for separate authentication. Right now, it's basically, right now you can only do like docker.io instead of docker.io/foo and /bar.
That's interesting. So yeah, this is again something that could be our OCI working group fodder, by the way. So
And another one is being able to just provide username and password as part of the push action. So instead of you having to log in, you just do it, Helm push and then provide username and password. So a couple different things I'm going to be looking into on the long weekend. Fortunately for Red Hat, it's a 4-day weekend because we have a day off today. So time to actually get some fun stuff done.
So I missed the first one there. Are you getting rid of the docker.io default or adding it in?
No, I was using that as an example. That was just an example of a registry.
So I missed what the change was then.
So right now, okay, the issue right now is that you can only, I believe, I need to look into this, but it's been reported, you can only log in to a single registry instead of logging into a specific namespace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had those requests a while back on Reg Client, and trying to do that got interesting, especially when they wanted to log into multiple registries on a single command and need to pass that. I think a bunch of the tools out there have each found ways to pass logins on the fly, just because there are a lot of users trying to put this stuff in CI pipelines.
Right, and that led to my last statement, which is basically just go ahead and provide username and password as part of a pushing action.
Yeah.
Or any interaction with the registry.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
If you run into any issues with auth, there's an entire dead working group right now over an OCI that needs to be resurrected at some point for dealing with authentication on the OCI side.
That's interesting because I may take you up on that one. because I've been doing a lot of pondering about that, not necessarily related to Helm, but just in general. So that would be good.
There are a lot of people that want to see it done. There are not a lot of people that have the time to do it.
That's part of my problem too. Time is a precious thing.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the past agenda, May 22nd. Yeah. So the couple of so a couple of things that at least so anybody else wants to jump in before I say anything? Kyle, did you have anything to share this week?
I guess the only update, this is really just for Andrew, that my use case for the CSI driver consuming OCI images, well, not OCI images, but like the ACE data bottles, that was approved for public release. So you'll probably see it in that same place I sent you in a few days, is what I imagine. We need to make a new release, and then we're going to put it over there.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Kyle, for the update.
Oh, sounds good. So we push those bottles to an OCI registry, and we're just going to expose the registry as a CSI via the CSI driver. Is that the overall flow?
Yeah. So the CSI, we call it the CSI bottle driver. You can make ephemera volumes in your pod, and it will download those. And you can give it the same kind of references you can give for any other bottle. So you can give it a bottle ID, and it'll go hit a telemetry server and go figure out where to go download it from, what registry to go pull it from. It'll try them all until with the credentials you give it. You can give it credentials, of course, in a secret, and then by referencing a secret in that volume amount, or in that volume rather. And yeah, you can also just tell it, just pull this tag or this digest from this particular repo, right? A typical OCI reference. But it does all of that there's a daemon set that gets deployed that handles that. And so there's a central cache on each node that handles that. So we don't have to download things twice. If we, terminate the pod and then restart it because we maybe updated the actual image, that type of thing. We don't have to download anything again. That's how it works, more or less.
Sounds good. Yeah, actually, this is I wanted, there is something that I want to talk about, and this is related to what I've been looking at in that space. So let me see.
I have an enhancement to Kubernetes that a couple of folks from the Red Hat team submitted. Give me a second to get it over there so I can post into this chat. 1 second. It's around OCI. It's around a CSI driver, just for that use case. So give me a second.
Okay.
All right, putting into the chat now. All right, so Ram, if you want to just pull that up in the chat, we can just take a look and talk about it.
Yeah, so it's a cap. Okay, you filed a cap on this one. All right, so oh, this is all good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're looking at it wrong, you're sharing a different screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me share this properly. Okay. Now?
There we go.
Yep, that's good. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so I guess volume source is another type that we are introducing.
I'll be honest, I haven't had the time to even look at it. I just know it was but and she reached out saying, "Hey, I got this submitted." I'm like, "Great, I'll get to it at some point." So
okay.
now I'm getting to it.
Perfect. Okay.
But I wanted to share with the group to get their thoughts.
I guess the big question from my perspective, I think this is great. The question is, obviously, if you want to pull down an image, like an OCI image, there's a obvious directory file system structure that maps to. For a Helm chart, the same is true, right? There's one layer and it's a tarball, and you would unpack it, and that would be your volume, I would imagine, right?
Ironically, the Helm actually we stored in 3 layers.
Oh, it's 3. Oh,
Yeah, there's a tar, there's the tar, there's the Providence file, and then there's the 3rd one. The chart.
Yeah, the
Wow,
config.
maintenance.
is it the chart itself, like the
I
chart.yaml or
think the
something?
chart. Well, we put the chart.yaml in the config manifest. Give me a second.
Okay.
One
Yeah,
second.
so it begs the question, where do those things show up in some volume?
Right.
Right? Because ultimately you're mounting this volume, so you need a directory. So you have to map this OCI artifact into a single directory
It's
somehow.
different folders. So you have a top level folder and everything just goes underneath the under folder.
I know, but like, is that Helm installable, or is it is some application going to know what on earth to do with that thing? I know for like Ace data bottles, you might be able to do that. I think if you just took all of them, and yeah, you could untar them, and you would.
Does it really make sense to mount a Helm chart as a volume source? I got the impression this was for storing data itself, and so you would have your volume writing into some kind of local source and then syncing it up to a OCI registry at some point.
The way I see it is, this is a great use case for like ML, AI ML models. If you need to do model development, you can pull that down. Helm charts are fine because if you want to create 3 separate folders, the tarball itself is just the tarball. So it's very similar if we do Helm polls -- tar, it just extracts the tarball.
Is this read only?
The source?
At least pulling from OCI part. Is that a read only operation?
I have no idea yet.
Kyle, you're on mute.
I presume it's read only from an OCI perspective. It's a whole different ball of wax to make changes and have those pushed back up to OCI, right?
That's kind of what I'm wondering. I know people in the past have wanted to do like backups of the volume gets backed up to a registry so that they have persistent data between container runs.
That's harsh.
Yeah. It implies a different level of access as well. The biggest question I'll have looking at this is, how does it map to stuff outside of Kubernetes? I know this is going in as a KEP, it's going to be very Kubernetes specific, but people run containers with Docker Compose. I presume Podman will probably be quick on adopting this, but different container runtimes out there, and just trying to think of how that maps to the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's yes. That's why yes, exactly. So that's why the OCI stuff and the CNCF stuff are an intersection, not a containment. But that's absolutely a valid. Not everybody is going to be running Kubernetes because they may have legacy stuff, or they may have just chosen a different container environment.
Look at AIML. I'm running it on my laptop, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
I'm still running Kubernetes.
And people don't want to have an image that can only be running Kubernetes.
Right.
I think the key thing this proposal does not solve is the case where you dynamically want to consume OCI artifacts. Not that like the CSI bottle stuff that I'm doing solves this problem either. It suffers the same fate, but the idea where you're serving up ML models at pod creation time, you don't know what model you're serving up, or 5 models, or the models roll usually as new ones are cooked and old ones are discarded, but you don't bounce that pod in the process of doing so, typically. So this doesn't solve that particular problem.
No, I think what it's doing is at least enabling a certain, I guess, enabling functionality, but its full life cycle is something that we're gonna have to. It's one of the best parts about all this space right now. It's so emerging. We're basically kind of flying them by the seat of our pants and waiting for it to cool.
Okay.
It'd be
But
interesting.
I can see that this is a very natural fit, and I do know the Oras folks also had a CSI driver just with this particular use case where the OCI registry is being served off as a CSI endpoint. So
Would it be interesting for the group here if I asked the folks that submitted this to come on in and talk about it?
I think so.
I can do that.
Let me see if we can. Yeah, I think it is this one. So add this link over here. This. So this was the other. This is the other project that has found. I don't think this is active, but at least we get the ideas from here. Okay. Yeah, so what I had from my side was I was just looking at so Zot has its own search interface. I was actually going to refactor it a bit and make it a part of at least start porting some of the stuff from the CNCF artifacts kind of thing. So again, aligning with the OCI extension. So instead of making a Zot prefix, you just put an _artifacts prefix and see where it goes. That was the simple change for me, right? So because most of the functionality is there, it is a GraphQL interface, it's documented, and this may be something that folks may be interested in at least playing with, and see where it goes.
For extensions, we wanted people on the OCI side to register those with us, didn't we?
Possibly, yeah. That's yeah.
So if you're doing something that's Zot specific, you might want to just note over there that you're taking the Zot _Zot namespace for yourself, and that way you could put whatever you want under there without going back and forth to OCI every time you want to do something.
Okay, yeah, let me do that. That at least people are aware that there is this plugin there.
Yeah, I think there's a file over in OCI that we're supposed to keep track of those. Just it's to keep people from stepping on top of each other. So if someone else is doing something with artifacts and they came up with a similar idea, but a slightly different implementation, that it wouldn't be conflicting.
Yeah. So in this case, in this particular case, what I was trying to do is also make it, so instead of just making it a Zot namespace, I was trying to make it into a more general artifacts namespace for say CNCF.
Yeah, I mean, you could potentially register a CNCF one, but then you're going to want to have a group CNCF wide that's managing it.
Yes, there are those issues. This is doing the PR and writing the code is the easier task.
Yeah, I would see Zot as something you can use it as a sandbox for now, and then once you think that it is to a releasable state, then try to transition it over to an _OCI or something along those lines to say, look, we've got it working over here. Someone else is interested in doing similar things. Let's go ahead and standardize at that point.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So the other, yeah. So the other thing was, I just somehow got pulled into this conversation from the Kubeflow guys on the OCI registry stuff, right? So yeah, I was talking about this the last time. There are so if you have these models that you want to serve close to your workloads, which are going to consume these models. So they have two approaches. One is the sidecar approach. What they do is they have a container image that so they package the model data as a runnable container image with a while for our sleep, right? So that way all the data gets loaded, and the other the actual workloads are in a different container, and both of them do the PID namespace sharing, so that now they can actually see that mount across the container. So that is the trick that they're playing. So the advantage, the big problem that they're trying to solve is these models are huge, and by doing this trick, quote unquote trick, they're able to cache all of this stuff, like you would cache a container image once it is pulled, and therefore you can.
The question is, how are they? So I have not looked at. I've heard about the Kubeflows thing. Are they going ahead and how are they loading the actual image?
Okay, so let me.
Because I'm trying to figure out if they're just creating, using a, dummy image just to get an image running and then doing like an Aura's poll or something.
That's correct. That's exactly what they're doing.
Where are
So
they storing that? Where are they storing the data?
they're storing the data as a container image. So it could be on any registry actually.
Well, no. You said they're using Auras, but they're actually writing to the local. They're writing to the local container runtime.
Yes, it will be a local. So the model itself is packaged as a runnable container image.
Oh,
Okay, so but that's a hack.
That's a
Because
hack.
what they're trying to get out of that is the caching and the pulling, automatic pulling, and all of that stuff. But it's a hack, right? So the other approach that they have is called the storage container, and not the container they're using as a overloaded term here. So the storage container part is they have different kinds of protocols that they support. For example, S3, so on and so forth, right? So let me just see. So they got different kinds of providers, right? So yeah, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, like that. So all of the data is going to land here, and they have a selector based on the model name and model type and so on and so forth. So from that selector, they're able to pull a particular image and then run it. But the disadvantage here is unless there is some sort of caching, there is a huge cost on every time you pull. Okay. So that is the downside of this approach. So this is so what they were interested in doing is, instead of doing all of this, can we actually make one of these supported protocols to be an OCI distribution spec protocol, which is the OCI registry. So that was what I was going to submit here. So you have the data here in the OCI registry, and this whole machinery here is going to consume the data from here, hosted here. And this is a slightly different approach than the CSI approach. Because in the CSI, you're basically getting that as a storage volume. And if you have a cache attached to that storage volume, then it solves the caching problem. But of course, this the advantage of going with this approach is you can get all the artifacts, the referrers, and all of that stuff, which is quite handy when you talk about models.
Yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer in my mind to store these ML artifacts in OCI for the reasons you just mentioned, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The key problem I talked about it last time we met. We hit it this time like multiple times, right? It's this whole idea of how do you consume it?
Yeah.
In a way that benefits from cache, and not even just local, like node local cache, but also peer-to-peer cache. Your peer node on your Kubernetes cluster has it. How do you make sure that you benefit from downloading it from there as opposed to downloading it from the distant registry?
Got it. Yeah.
And your hack benefits from all of those things, because Containerd or whatever the underlying CRI is gonna, you can plug in Containerd to use IPFS and other peer-to-peer stuff to support fast image polling.
Yeah. Okay.
And that
Anyway, so
volume
this
mount
is-
proposal does the same, like dovetails nicely with this, the KEP that Andrew was talking about.
Okay, so I think that's all I had in terms of an update and progress. There are some interesting patterns emerging. We'll I think there are a couple of groups that are sort of working in silos. It may be a good idea to bring them all together somehow. So
I'm with you. I definitely like that you were able to get the integrated into the Kubeflow side of things. That would be a good intersection because AI/ML models is so hot right now, it's not even funny. So if we can get some patterns started getting emerging now ahead of the game, I think it's gonna be really helpful.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's all I had. If anybody else has anything to chip in, otherwise you can get your 15 minutes back. Going once, twice, thrice. Okay. All right, folks. Have a nice day. Thanks for joining the call, and hopefully we'll meet next time.
Sounds good.
Rob.
Everyone in the US, have a good holiday weekend.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Cheers.